There is something deeply strange happening in the gaming industry right now. Xbox and PlayStation are constantly talking about ecosystems, engagement, recurring revenue, premium subscriptions, and getting players to spend more time inside their platforms. And then there's Valve, a company that barely communicates, rarely holds enormous marketing showcases, and sometimes appears to disappear for several years at a time. Yet somehow, Valve has built more genuine trust with its audience than almost any other major gaming company. Valve has earned that trust because its business model usually works by giving the consumer more freedom, whereas the console business increasingly works by taking freedom away. Xbox and PlayStation want to build walls around you. Valve wants to build a shop so convenient that you never feel the need to leave. Those approaches might sound similar, both ultimately want your money, but from the consumer's perspective, they produce completely different gaming experiences. And that is why Valve has gradually become the polar opposite of Xbox and PlayStation. The clearest example is online multiplayer. Imagine buying a console, buying a £70 game, paying for your internet connection, and then being told that you still need another subscription before you're allowed to play that game online. That is completely normal on consoles. PlayStation confirms that most PS4 and PS5 games require PlayStation Plus for online multiplayer. Xbox similarly includes online console multiplayer as one of the benefits attached to its Game Pass subscription plans. We have lived with this system for so long that most people no longer question it, but think about how ridiculous it actually is. Sony is not hosting every multiplayer server. Microsoft is not developing every online game. In many cases, the publisher is already running the infrastructure. The platform holder is effectively charging you an entrance fee to access the internet through hardware you already purchased. Valve doesn't do that. There is no Steam Plus subscription required to play most of your games online. You buy the game, connect to the internet, and play it. Valve could probably introduce a paid online tier tomorrow and make billions from it, but it understands something Xbox and PlayStation have forgotten. Sometimes, the best way to keep customers spending money is to avoid constantly reminding them that they are being monetized. Valve makes Steam attractive enough that people willingly build enormous libraries there. Console companies often make their platforms inconvenient enough that people have to pay to remove the inconvenience. That is a major philosophical difference. Steam's refund system is another perfect example. Valve generally allows players to request a refund within 14 days of purchase, provided the game has been played for less than 2 hours. It even says that players can still submit a request outside those conditions and have their case reviewed. That gives you enough time to discover whether the game runs properly, whether the marketing was misleading, or whether you simply don't enjoy it. You're allowed to make a purchasing mistake. Compare that with PlayStation's policy. PlayStation also provides a 14-day cancellation window, but once you have started downloading or streaming the game, it is generally no longer eligible for a refund unless the content is faulty or local consumer law provides additional protection. That is astonishing when you really examine it. You can buy a game, begin downloading it automatically, and potentially lose your standard right to change your mind before you have even played it. Steam's system treats the customer like a person making an informed decision. The PlayStation system treats the transaction as something that must be protected from the customer. Xbox does not allow players to request refunds for some digital games, but Microsoft's official guidance says digital goods are generally not returnable unless the offer or the applicable law makes them eligible. Its process is less predictable than Steam's clearly stated 2-hour standard. Valve's refund policy is not flawless. Developers of very short games have reasonably argued that some players can finish their entire game and then refund it. But from a consumer perspective, Steam created a simple standard that people can understand. Buy the game, try it, keep it when you like it, return it when you don't. That should be normal. Instead, within the console industry, it feels revolutionary. The Steam Deck may be the strongest evidence of Valve's entire philosophy. Valve could have created a traditional locked-down handheld. It could have restricted installations to the Steam store, blocked competing launches, and forced users to buy every game through Valve. That would have followed the traditional console model. Instead, the Steam Deck is essentially a portable computer. SteamOS provides the convenient console-like interface, but Valve still allows users to enter the Linux desktop environment. Valve openly describes the deck as a Linux system and tells more advanced users that they can head into the desktop when they want greater control. You can still install applications outside Steam. use other storefronts, add emulators, replace Steam OS entirely, and install other operating systems. Valve would obviously prefer that you buy everything through Steam. That is where it makes its money, but preference is different from enforcement. The Steam Deck attempts to win your loyalty through convenience rather than capture it through restrictions. That is almost the opposite of how a traditional console works. On PlayStation and Xbox, the platform holder decides which stores can exist, what software can run, which accessories are supported, and how the operating system can be used. You do not truly control the machine. You operate within the section of the machine that the manufacturer has allowed you to access. Valve gives you the keys and says, essentially, we have built the easiest experience for you, but it's still your device. That creates loyalty because the player remains there by choice. Valve also partnered with iFixit to supply official replacement parts and repair guides for devices including the Steam Deck and Valve Index. Replacement screens, thumbsticks, fans, buttons, and other components have been made available alongside step-by-step repair information. That does not mean every Steam Deck repair is easy. Some components remain difficult to access, and opening your device always carries risks, but the underlying message is there. Valve acknowledges that hardware will eventually break, and it provides at least some legitimate routes for customers to repair it. Within much of the electronics industry, the customer is encouraged to treat a broken device as an excuse to purchase another one. Repairability gives the consumer options, and options are the center of everything Valve does well. You can repair the hardware, modify the software, use another operating system, purchase games elsewhere, connect different controllers. You can even ignore Steam's traditional interface and treat the device like a small computer. Valve does not need to control every element of your experience because it is confident that Steam will remain the most convenient option. Steam Families is another example of Valve removing unnecessary friction. A Steam family can contain up to 6 people in total. Members gain access to eligible games owned across the family while maintaining their own save files, achievements, and workshop content. Family members can also play different shared games simultaneously when the family owns multiple copies of the same game. Multiple people can play that game at the same time. Developers can opt their titles out, so the system is not universal, but it is considerably more flexible than Steam's older sharing system. Valve recognized how people actually use digital libraries. Households do not always consist of one person sitting in front of one machine with one account. People share games. Parents buy games for children. Partners use separate computers. Families have multiple devices. Instead of treating that behavior as lost revenue that must be eliminated, Valve created a controlled system that makes sharing easier. That generosity is not completely selfless. A family that builds its shared library on Steam becomes more invested in Steam, but that is the point. Valve creates loyalty by improving the service. Console platforms increasingly create loyalty by making it expensive or inconvenient to leave. The reason for this is not that Valve possesses superior morals. It is because Valve's incentives are different. A console manufacturer wants to pull you into a closed ecosystem. Once you own the console, your digital purchases, subscriptions, save data, friend groups, and accessories make switching platforms more difficult. The more trapped you become, the more valuable you are as a customer. Steam operates within the open PC market. Valve cannot realistically prevent you from installing another launcher. It cannot stop you from buying directly from a developer. It cannot charge every PC owner for online multiplayer. Therefore, Steam has to compete through features, pricing, convenience, and reputation. Valve's lack of control forces it to remain useful. And ironically, that has made Steam more powerful than many closed platforms. Players use Steam because it offers refunds, cloud saves, community pages, workshop support, controller configurations, family sharing, frequent sales, and a library that follows them between different computers. Valve has constructed an ecosystem without needing to completely imprison the consumer inside it. Its platform is sticky because people like using it, not merely because leaving would destroy the value of their hardware. However, this is where the conversation needs some balance. Valve is not your friend. Steam purchases are still governed by license agreements. Digital ownership remains complicated and access is tied heavily to your account. Steam is enormously dominated within PC gaming. That dominance gives Valve considerable influence over developers, pricing, visibility, and which games are discovered. Steam is also filled with low-quality releases, manipulative microtransactions, and games using aggressive forms of DRM. Valve has abandoned products and projects before. Its communication can be frustratingly limited, and customers support does not always feel personal, Steam Families also allows developers to exclude games, meaning not everything in your library can necessarily be shared. Valve deserves scrutiny precisely because it holds so much power, but being consumer friendly does not require a company to be morally pure. It means that the company's products, policies, and incentives frequently produce better outcomes for the customer. Valve makes money when people enjoy buying and playing games through Steam. Xbox and PlayStation increasingly make money by charging people for access, subscriptions, and continued participation within controlled ecosystems. One model asks, how do we make our platform more attractive? And the other increasingly asks, how much can we charge before the customer finally leaves? To be fair, Xbox and PlayStation have both introduced genuinely good ideas. Xbox has invested heavily in backwards compatibility, cross-platform releases, and making its games available across more devices. PlayStation continues to produce high-quality hardware, strong accessibility, features, and some of the biggest games in the industry. Their subscription services can provide good value for people who play enough games. The argument is not that everything Valve does is good and everything Sony or Microsoft does is evil. The difference is the direction of travel. Valve's major improvements usually give players greater flexibility. Console platform changes increasingly introduce new tiers, new restrictions, new account requirements, or new reasons to remain subscribed. Steam is constantly trying to become the default place where PC players want to purchase games. Xbox and PlayStation often behave as though they are entitled to monetize every interaction that happens inside their hardware. That is why goodwill surrounding Valve feels so different. Valve understands that consumer freedom and corporate success do not have to be enemies. You can let people repair their hardware and still sell hardware, allow refunds and still sell games, permit competing software and still operate the largest PC storefront. Let families share their libraries and still make an extraordinary amount of money. Valve's genius is not that it refuses to monetize its customers, it is that the monetization is often hidden behind the genuine usefulness. Steam does not need to hold you hostage, it simply needs to remain the place you would rather be. Xbox and PlayStation built traditional empires, enormous walls, guarded entrances, and tolls at the gates. Valve built a marketplace in the middle of an open city. You're free to walk away whenever you like, but because the marketplace is convenient, familiar, and usually treats you reasonably well, most people stay. And in the modern gaming industry, giving the customer enough freedom to leave might be the most consumer-friendly strategy of all.